Another beautiful day at the lake. Perfect day for fishing, if you're into that sort of thing. But did you know that lakes like this also serve more than just a recreational purpose? Lake Wheeler, located just down the road from here, also serves as a primary source of water for the city of Raleigh since the year 2010. And that's all well and good, but how would you feel if you know that this lake or that lake were contaminated with dangerous, toxic chemicals? For many lakes around our state, this is a dangerous reality that often goes unnoticed. And nearly every major river in the southeast has one or more dump sites on its banks containing slurries of coal ash from power plants. Now, coal ash is residual material left over when coal is burnt for fuel. The ash contains numerous toxic substances, including chromium, thallium, selenium, mercury, and lead. North Carolina itself is home to more than 50 coal ash impoundments containing at least 16 billion gallons of coal combustion waste. Now, referencing a report done by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, they found that these unlined coal combustion waste ponds pose a cancer risk of 900 times above acceptable levels. Referencing a report done by the nonprofit Earth Justice, $1.5 billion worth of damage has been caused to fish, wildlife, and human communities by North Carolina's 3 documented coal ash damage cases at Bellows Lake, Hyco Reserve, and Mayo Reservoir. Additionally, according to an American Rivers report, the presence of coal ash is a primary reason why North Carolina's Catawba River has been ranked the 5th most endangered river of 2013. In North Carolina, we are aiming to reform practices that have allowed Progress Energy and Duke Energy to be the cause of coal ash contaminations from impoundments at more than a dozen power plants, stretching from the mountains to the coast. Of course, the Dan River spill earlier this year has triggered many of the calls for reform as of late. According to a report by CNN, North Carolina coal ash spill, it was estimated that between 50,000 to 82,000 tons of Duke Energy coal ash spilled into the river. Now that's enough to fill 32 Olympic-sized swimming pools. At a site near Wilmington, additionally, arsenic levels in the groundwater are 27 times above state standards. And coal ash ponds near Asheville are leaking thousands of gallons of wastewater into creeks feeding into the French Broad River, bypassing the on-site treatment system. Need I go on? Political and industry pressure has delayed the adoption of the tough federal regulations needed to ensure the safe disposal of coal ash. In the absence of strong federal safeguards, we have relied on an inconsistent patchwork of rules in our states, some of which have tougher standards for handling household garbage than they do for the disposal of coal ash. Now, North Carolina's regulations are severely deficient in handling this waste. Federal regulations must be implemented to crack down on our disposal of coal ash. These regulations must cover practices that are currently being overlooked by the major energy providers in North Carolina. First off, requirements for groundwater monitoring at all new and existing impoundments and landfills must be implemented. According to the State of Failure report by Earth Justice, ash impoundments constructed before the year 1994, which represent half of all North Carolina impoundments, are not required to have caps, pollution liners, or conduct groundwater monitoring. So therefore, requirements for pollution control liners for all new impoundments, as well as prohibiting ash impoundments in landfills from being constructed in water tables, must also be done. According to a regulation study done by Earth Justice, there are 13 documented cases where North Carolina power plants have contaminated water resources. And also, financial assurance for coal ash impoundments to pay for necessary upkeep, maintenance, and cleanup at coal ash dump sites must be done. According to a CBS local article on Duke Energy customers would have to pay for all additional costs for the disposal of coal ash caused by new regulations. This would clearly be an unfair burden to NC residents and should certainly be prevented. Additional missing safeguards that need to be implemented include geotechnical and engineering inspections by operators. According to the State of Failure report done by Earth Justice, only 42% of our coal impoundments have been inspected by a state regulator in the past 5 years. And finally, we also need to take notice of emergency action plans in the case of an event like the Dan River spill. With all of these regulations implemented, in conjunction with recent legislature passed by our Senate, there's no doubt that our major energy providers can be made to successfully clean up their coal ash waste and continue to do so properly. Now, there's plenty of evidence to show that we are on the right track to regulating coal ash. In South Carolina, legal action has resulted in an agreement from the South Carolina Electric and Gas to clean up their coal ash lagoons at its water treatment plant southeast of Columbia. The utility has made a binding commitment to remove all of the more than 2.4 million tons of coal combustion waste from their impoundments, as well as a long-time source of arsenic and other pollutants into the Catawba River. In North Carolina's own Senate, we have recently unanimously approved a bill calling for the closure of Duke Energy's 33 coal ash ponds in the state within the next 15 years. According to the News and Observer, a Duke Energy spokesman has called the timeline set by the Senate incredibly aggressive, cutting in half the years the company had initially proposed for the cleanup. And personally, I believe that is exactly what Duke Energy needs to make progress, an aggressive approach. Now, in April 2013, the study Regulation of Coal Ash Disposal, also known as House Bill 818, was introduced in North Carolina, which unfortunately did not pass. However, the bill had proposed a study committee on the coal ash disposal, consisting of House and Senate members. Now, members would have been required to study the consequences of coal ash disposal in our state. In light of recent events, perhaps this bill should be reconsidered. Our representatives need to be making informed decisions on all topics, and coal ash is no exception. I hope I have made it clear to you why federal coal ash regulations must be supported. These regulations must close and clean up all existing coal ash ponds, establish federal authority on enforcement, and guarantee the financial ability for those responsible for this pollution to clean up the contamination caused by coal ash. The presence of these dumps across our state is a blight that continues to negatively impact both our ecosystem and our citizens. Now, year by year, the coal ash problem is worsening as power plants continue to accumulate ash with no protections being put into place. If legislation on this matter continues to be weak and we do not allow federal coal ash regulations to be implemented, another spill is guaranteed in our future.